Hello everyone, welcome to today's pick a card reading. It is another mini card reading for you. So I just wanted to look at the energy you're in right now and why you're going to be okay, why it's all going to work out. So that being said, pile 1 is this moss agate. Pile 2 is this, I'm going to try to say it, Dendritic Jasper. And pile 3 here is some Lapis Lazuli. There we have it. So if you've never picked a card before, it's always great to get a little bit more grounded, taking a few deep breaths in and out, shutting down your eyes if it's safe for you to do so, feeling into your body, and even trying to see if you can drop your awareness from the mind down through the shoulders, down through the ribs, the hips, the quads, the knees, all the way down to the feet. And this is why using the breath sometimes can help, because you can follow the breath down. And just asking yourself the question, is there a message from me today in one of these piles? And then opening your eyes and just taking a look at the colors, the images, the crystals, the shapes, and just seeing if anything's standing out to you or is like calling your attention. And then that could be the pile for you. The other way some people like to choose is by going to the description box below and choosing a pile that has a number that they've been seeing a lot or might mean something to them. And then just always remember, especially with this one here, there is an energy check. So if you don't feel like it's the energy you're in, that might not be the pile for you. And never take anything on that isn't yours to take. And you always remember that you have complete autonomy in choosing what to watch, when to leave it. And yeah, ultimately, you know what's best, and you don't need to leave here with anything you don't need. That being said, I'm gonna give you some time now to choose your piles, and I'll see you in your pick a card readings. Hello, my pile 1. So we're just looking at some supportive, encouraging messages about why things are going to get a little bit better for you. We are first going to be looking at the energy you're in right now. So we have Mother and Knight. So the Knight card, it actually came out reversed, which just told me that you might be struggling with feeling like you are having a lot of bad luck in love. You're meeting possibly a lot of emotionally unavailable people or people who just aren't very reciprocal. And even here it says like finding repetitive patterns in destructive relationships, or sometimes having a lot of hope in someone new that you might have met, but them just not quite meeting your expectations, and it being a bit of a pattern that you've ran into. So it just means it's happened to you multiple times, and I imagine you're feeling a little bit depleted from this, and perhaps even a little I don't want to say hopeless, but you're just not feeling great about it. You're not really feeling like you're gonna meet your prince and charming, you're gonna meet your person anytime soon. And I do feel like if you're watching this pile, you're probably someone who has gone in like ups and downs. You probably meet someone, get really hopeful, and then unfortunately they don't live up to that potential or to the words they've said. So also here with the Mother card coming in, it says in a time of nurturing self, having patience, and trying to shift patterns essentially and start to discover unconditional love. So yeah, I do feel like you're just probably in a really tough place where you really are probably working through some of those disappointments in love, in how you've been loved and how people have treated you. Specifically, I think in romantic partnerships more than anything. So I can just see this being a bit of a hard time to feel very excited about there being someone in your life that comes in and makes it easy to be in relationship. I'll say that. So when I'm looking at where you're going, we have Messiah, and this one says here, This one I actually find very interesting. So how this one also came upside down, which I also just took taking it from a bit of the lesson learned from the shadow attribute, which talks about essentially realizing reciprocity in relationships, and realizing that I would say like realizing how much effort you have put into, I would say, more one-sided relationships where people might have perhaps guilted you or made you feel bad for not trying harder or making more accountable. And this one here just talks about really coming into a place of clarity and realizing that those relationships, they were, ultimately not someone putting in the same equivalent value. And that is not a standard that you will have to put up with or live through in love in the future. And really realizing, it's almost like you realize when and how you're putting too much effort in compared to someone else. And it's not that not because you need to like not put as much attention to relationships, just that you won't give your time to people who aren't putting that same level of time, attention, and care into the relationship, if that makes sense. So this feels like realizing what kind of people aren't emotionally available to invest in or put that time into, even though they can seem like great humans and they have a lot of potential. This talks about really seeing who can and cannot offer that reciprocal relationship. So it feels like a relief because it feels like hopes get up way less, and you find yourself in less situations where people might be I would almost say like maybe a lot of people have blamed you and done like basically projected on you because they didn't want to take accountability for things they weren't ready for. I would like, the what I'm seeing in my mind is just like you asking someone for clarity about something that was like upsetting with you or you didn't fully understand, and the person that you were in relationship with possibly just kind of flipping that question back on you. That's kind of what I see from this. And it's like this person or these people in the past perhaps didn't know how to give you a vulnerable answer, and I feel like a lot of the times they just kind of put it back on you. Like I just feel like there's so much over responsibility put on you. So I see this as you're gonna be okay because you're gonna start seeing these people for their tendencies and their habits before you invest in them. So that seems really, really, like such a relief on the energy drain for you. And what I also want to say, why it's saying you're going to be okay, is we have winter, which if you're watching this as it comes out, is the season here in North America. Winter, like being a time for the healer healing. And why I really love this once again, with this card coming in, it talks about realizing that you can be still a beautiful, compassionate, caring, you're a very empathetic person. Like this, that's the only kind of person that kind of gets usually stuck in these kind of dynamics, is someone who is just extremely compassionate and kind-hearted and, is curious, but often then unfortunately can get not valued by other people who, I'm just gonna say, who are a little less emotionally available. I know there's more going on with these kind of people that you attracted in, but that's just the umbrella term I'm gonna use. And I just see here, it's like you, the healer, are healing this winter. It is a self-time focus. I do imagine you are going to be with yourself. I don't imagine you're going to be dating anyone for a little bit, but this actually feels really, really good because I feel like it gives you this time to just focus on yourself and give yourself that nurturing, caring, loving, compassionate energy that you're usually giving so much to these people you're dating or in relationship with. So it feels so beautiful because I feel like you finally get to receive the love you deserve, but from yourself. And you might even see how, like, wow, I really do give a lot of care and attention to others, which I really like, because I feel like some past relationships haven't made you feel that way, haven't really valued just how much you give to them. So I'm really hoping that you start to benefit from that same energy you give others to yourself. But I see that coming in. This feels like the path you're currently on, and I see a lot of realizations coming for you in this time, like getting a lot of clarity. And once again, that I think is what leads to realizing signs and patterns of these people who are emotionally unavailable before you put in too much of your emotional energy and effort into them and building that relationship. We have facing your financial fears, cooperation instead of competition. and bountiful nature. So what I love about this cooperation instead of competition, this card just talks about starting to see that it doesn't all have to be on you. You're not accountable and responsible for everything, especially in relationships. It's a two-way street. And that just comes back to this Messiah card here, where it's like realizing it doesn't all have to be your responsibility. That if something goes wrong in a in a relationship, it's not all your fault. It's not for you to fix it. Yeah, just honestly, the heaviness that gets lifted with not being the only one responsible for how connections are going, that's going to be such an emotional relief and unburdening. And I also have to say, like, that also feels to me like it addresses some guilt of the past, where perhaps people have made you feel guilty or shameful for not putting in more effort, even though you were the one putting in all the effort. And I feel like some of that shame dissipates. So it's also why I'm feeling really excited for this to come through. It's like the guilt and the shame from these past people who weren't reciprocal gets healed through these other people in your community who start to teach you what it's like to actually be supported and appreciated. So that's really, really awesome. Bountiful nature. I also love this card coming through. This talks about starting to feel grounded and centered and safe in your environment, supported. So I feel like over the next little bit, I want to say even like the next month or two, you're going to start feeling more and more grounded in your body, and you're going to grow back some self-esteem, self-confidence, and trust in self, and just like a deep trust in your intuition, in your knowing, which is really, really big for, I feel like, recognizing when you are interacting with people who are perhaps projecting or not taking accountability, and realizing that it wasn't about you, it's kind of just about them. Like, it just feels like a lot of being very strong in self and seeing situations very clearly coming through. Facing your financial fears. So this one says, when you're honest with yourself about fears of success or failure, they can no longer control you. Be free of hidden fears by exposing them to the light of awareness. You'll realize that you are in fact you have nothing to fear. So this one could be talking about actual finances, but I wonder if this talks about if you have any fears about love. So if you have a fear going on about, what if I never find the right person? What if I have too high of standards? Or, like, whatever those fears are that are going around in the subconscious or in the head right now, because you are in a healing phase. So let me just say this as a side note. When we're in a healing phase after a breakup with someone who perhaps didn't say very nice things to us, a lot of their words are around in our heads, and it might be worth you perhaps seeing a counselor or a therapist who helps you kind of clear out those words. Also could see journaling being a great way, like saying the thoughts or the voices that I don't feel like necessarily belong to you in the situation. I feel like it's just repeated words from others, and just almost like naming them so you can see how untrue they are. Sometimes, getting it out of our heads and verbalizing something can be enough for us to realize how silly it sounds or how untrue it sounds to us. So I feel like there's some big power in that. So stating the fears out loud so they no longer control you. And once again, I do feel like, and I have to apologize for this, I do feel like your past relationships did use guilt and shame a lot. And I think that's why a lot of this is coming up. It's like a lot of, like, I would just say, lingering words that were said to you, just taking up so much space in your mind, and they're not true. So I can see why it's really challenging for you right now, why you are feeling like you're going through a hard time, because you have all these things going on in your head that were used in a way to create guilt and shame within yourself. But it was never about you. It was always about this other person who probably was feeling guilt or shame. So then they were projecting it on you. They were turning the tables so that they didn't have to feel it themselves. And it's a very destructive cycle. And I'm so sorry that that was something that happened to you and that you are now having to heal from. But what I want you to take away here is, I feel like you're going to start finding these really great people. This feels like such a healing part for you, is finding these people who are reciprocal, supportive, and understand you and your intentions when you're speaking. Yeah, it's going to be very nurturing. And I do want to say that counselor piece, I wonder if this pile would be into, I think it's called cognitive behavioral therapy. Could just feel like trying to get ruminating like thoughts out of the head. But once again, I keep feeling like they came from somebody else. I don't know if it's even this ex-partner's voice or just voices of your parents all kind of together. That might be something you need to look into on your own here, but I do just feel like there's a lot of other people's hurtful words, a lot of other people who had guilt and shame who just kind of didn't know what to do with it and put it on you. And I feel like you're healing from that now. So, okay, I'm gonna just pull one more card asking if there's anything else you need to know before we go here. Okay, anything else for you to know before we go here? Honor your inner child. So focus on your inner child's needs. Is your inner child afraid or in need of more playtime? Cherish this precious being within you. And I guess we got two more. We got practice self-soothing. You have the power to comfort yourself when you are upset. Place your hand gently over your heart. Send yourself unconditional love to ease tension and frustration. And lastly, it says, let go of being a martyr. Find a balance between giving and receiving. It is not healthy to give so much that you feel ill or exhausted. And I feel like this one really comes through when it says, just focus your energy on self and healing the hurt healer within you. That is going to go so far this season. So far. And I feel like it's really going to even change how you see yourself in the world. I know that can sound kind of funny, but I feel like I can see yourself putting yourself out there more, only because, like I said, like there's so many people of the past who unfortunately have really hurt this little you, and I'm so sorry for that. That like you didn't deserve it. You didn't deserve it, but I feel like you're really getting to a place now where you're like, I am going to spend some time healing this. I am going to learn some boundaries about giving and receiving and realizing that I don't need to give so much. There are other people out there who can offer me reciprocal relationships, and you really see that coming in for you, okay? It is going to get easier. It is going to only get easier. Okay, I'm wishing the best of luck. I'm so sorry for this time you're going through, and my thoughts are with you. Hello, my pile two. So we're just doing a quick thing around why is everything going to be okay? What do you need to know about why it's all going to be okay? So over here, we have the energy that you're in right now. We have Beggar and Poet in reverse. So whenever I see these two cards coming in, it tells me that you're trying your best. You're trying your best to perhaps, and this might be specific, but I keep thinking of like trying to get people to maybe organize, show up, help you out, work with, any of those kind of contexts where you're just trying to connect with people, organize people, and it could be in asking for their help, or perhaps in asking them to choose a date or a time to make plans in whichever way that is, for work, casual, family, Christmas planning, anything like that. And it just feels like when I see the Poet upside down, it's like your words are just not being heard. People are just not hearing you. And I feel like there's like just a bit of like frustration and being like, I just don't know how to get answers or how to get these things figured out or get people to commit to dates. And it just feels like you've tried everything and it's just not going anywhere, which is absolutely frustrating. And especially when the Poet comes out, I just see that so much about like you're like just trying so hard to communicate like why it's important to you, why you want to meet up with these people, why you want to have these dates set or have these like just these plans made. And you're really coming from a really kind, loving place. But once again, it's just not being heard, which really adds to that frustration of people are not hearing you, just like feeling completely unheard, which once again, I keep saying this, is very frustrating. And I feel like it would just feel like, yeah, you're out of like knowing what to do. I imagine when I'm seeing the coffee cup in this image, it really makes me feel like this pile might have been like drinking more caffeine than normal, trying to stay up, trying to plot, plan, figure out of solutions for these problems, but just nothing's coming your way because you need other people to assist or to like meet you halfway or make these plans. Like it feels like it's out of your control. So when I see all this going on, I'm like, all right, So tell me, Spirit, why is it all going to be okay? The energy we have you moving into, Messiah and the Vampire card. The Vampire card is really great when it comes out in the upright position because it talks about starting to be able to see who has time, who does not. And I feel like this one really comes through for when we have people who are so kind and they're like, yes, I would love to do that with you, but they actually don't have any time in their schedule for it. And instead of just perhaps being honest with you in the moment and saying, I'd love to, but I don't have a lot of extra time, they kind of just say, yeah, eventually, or keep messaging me and eventually I'll get back to you, or things like that. And I just feel like it's saying, like, you're going to start to see what people do actually have space and capacity for it. And also here it says makes you aware that someone or something can be draining your life force. So I feel like there is going to be a lot of wisdom from what is worthy of your time to try to organize, plan, or pursue, and what might be taking up too much of this mental capacity, because this is someone who is just trying to problem solve like crazy, but it's just not getting anywhere because it's outside of yourself, the problem. It's nothing that you're doing, it's outside of yourself. So Messiah also is great. So it's serving humanity with humility. This one I always see is someone who can kind of see like a higher perspective of the situation that's going on. Someone who can kind of see like objects and situations neutrally, to be really able to come to this place of being like, okay, I like this person, I like this thing, I like that thing, but I can see they're overwhelmed, they're flooded with their schedule, they're not going to be able to make it. This person over there means really well, but they never make it out because, you know, they have their own self-esteem issues that come up around that. And it's just like really being able to see like past what people are verbally saying and seeing kind of the situation, their habits, their behaviors, their actions, and just being able to really see before you get invested in planning and just organizing things to not find yourself in that way. I feel like this is like really being able to see who can be reciprocal, who can be available, and just, I really once again want to say it's coming from such a neutral place, because I think it's realizing that you do love all these people and these things, but they just don't have space for you, unfortunately, or some of them don't. Some of them, it's not even a you thing. Like I said, it's more of like, it's almost always a them thing, I'm feeling like, for your situations. They just don't have time, capacity, or like, I feel like sometimes it's a self-esteem thing. Like they don't actually feel ready for that step, but they don't say that, but you can kind of sense it. Yeah, okay, so let's move on down here. We have more like advice and clear details about why things are going to be okay. So we have forgiveness and celebration. Whenever I see the celebration card come through, it talks about letting go of old cycles, patterns, habits. So it talks about starting to come into a new phase. And forgiveness, this card talks all about forgiving, I want to say yourself for like I wonder, there's just so much chitter chatter going on in this person's head. I wonder if it's like forgiving yourself for perhaps like this energy you're in of being a little bit like, whoa, sorry, I just realized that card person's shirt kind of matches my Christmas mug. Weird. But anyways, yeah, I was just saying, I just wonder if there's going to be some like realizing and forgiving yourself, and just like true, like realizing that this really isn't you. And I wonder sometimes you don't quite see that. Like I think there's a bit of you that's like, yo, this might actually not all be on me because I've done everything I can. But then there's might be another part of yourself that comes up that kind of goes, well, you just need to try harder, try one more thing, or find another solution, or find a way around it. And I feel like it's just like forgiving yourself, forgiving the situation, forgiving that other people can't always actually invest the amount of time that they might say out loud they do have. Just feel like it's like coming to peace, the forgiveness card with what is, and knowing, like, I just feel like it's like not putting any blame on anyone. That feels like it comes through pretty clearly for me. Not putting any blame on anyone, just starting to see that some people don't have capacity for some things. Celebrating, like I said, feels like it ends an end of a cycle, an end of a certain habit being in your life, which I feel like would be this, like not feeling like communicating with people who can't hear you, who don't even have time to hear what you're saying. So that's going to be a huge energy saver. And then what we have over here, we have ask for your needs to be met, abundance mindset, no more complaining, and gratitude list. So when I see the no more complaining card come in, I always like to address that one. This one often talks about trying to shift the mind from what isn't working to what is working, so that you, like, I would say over here, a lot of the times you start to see all the things that aren't working because those are the problems you're constantly trying to fix. And instead of seeing those ones and being the forefront of the things, it's like starting to go after the things that are working. What does work well? Who has been reciprocal? What is reciprocal? If it's just when you plan things, then maybe that's the way to go. Is it when you put yourself out there in a certain way with a certain person that's always been reliable? Just talks about start going and focusing your energy on the things that actually are reciprocal and work well and are going well, and giving up these things that are a mental stress that never quite feel like they're worth it, or they finally come out together at the end, but it was so much emotional energy and stress put into it that it wasn't quite worth it. So it talks about investing more of the time towards what is going well, what is working well, and following that more. Abundance mindset, I love it when this comes in because it talks about things are going to get easier, things are going to feel like there's more flow to them, not like they're so stagnant or stuck or like it's on you. So that's really awesome. And asking for your needs to be met, to me, this is like raising the standards for those relationships. So once again, I'm not sure if this is in business, friendship, or family, but I do feel like it's just starting to realize like when you're gonna first plan a plan, because that's great English. When you first gonna plan a plan, I feel like you're gonna have like these expectations or standards where you're gonna be like, hey, well, if we work together, these are my terms. Or if we are planning a family event or friends event, these are my terms. Are you able to do this in that moment? If they say yes or no, and then you're saying, okay, if you can, then we can move forward with the event. If they say they can't, or like, I'm not sure, then you kind of already have your answer there. So it kind of just says about like, kind of asserting right away your expectations and your sort of standards for going through with that event or that thing. And then everyone's on the same page and you're not left being this person who's unheard, ignored, and just kind of in the dust over here. So I really do like this for this pile. So if I were to conclude what everything and summarize it perhaps in an easier way to understand, is I feel like you're in a space where you have a big heart, you're wanting to put it all in, but you're finding yourself again and again in these situations where people aren't in a space emotionally, self-esteem wise, just generally in their life having space for these plans. And I feel like they do agree to them. I think that's the frustration, is I feel like they agree to them in some way and then it doesn't quite pan out. And they see you moving to a space where you start to be able to actually assess and be able to see and recognize people who have space for that from you, and being able to see this situation neutrally. So it's not that you're judging the person or judging their behavior. You're just like able to see that they're not in a space right now in their life where they can hold events or things like that for you. And it just feels like this saves you so much of your own personal energy and so much less stress. I also feel like I see like coming to terms with the fact that you can't really change things or make things easier for people to the point where they'll finally be able to invest this time. It's not a you thing, it's really a them thing. And it just comes to like not kind of letting yourself be upset about it, feel disappointed about it, but not holding blame to any one person, and kind of stepping into this new cycle where you have this ability to really see what works and go after it and keep moving towards the things that are working well, and not trying to get the things that aren't working to start working, if that makes sense. Not trying to see that thing finally work, because it feels like those just aren't the right people, the right spaces. They don't have the time. And once again, it feels like following that, making sure that you voice your needs, and if they say they can't meet them, not lowering your standards or your needs, just knowing that there'll be another opportunity, another person, because it's so stressful. So it feels like getting out of a bit of a vicious cycle around how much stress you can carry due to other people not having this time. So I hope that gave some clarity. I do feel like this is coming in pretty quick too, I should say. Like, I would wonder if this is going to clear up if you're watching this as it comes out within the end of a month. Like, I feel like if you're watching this in December, I feel like by January, you're going to start being in this quite quickly, where you're like, I see who can and can't have time. Like, You know, like, I guess maybe even like on a business perspective, a lot of businesses are the most quiet in January. And if you don't have time in January, they probably ain't ever gonna really have time. That's my thoughts. Because, you know, it's, yeah. Anyways, then it's catch up rest time. And then they're kind of back in the cycle again after that. So, yeah, I just feel like a lot of clarity coming there for you. So, hopefully, this was helpful. I'm sorry you're kind of in this place where you're not really being valued or appreciated or have your time being reciprocated. And I'm just really excited for you to get out of that energy and start finding these like yes opportunities that value your time and are reciprocal. Are reciprocal is the key word here. So I'm wishing you the best, and I'll catch you in another card reading sometime. Hello, my pile threes. So first thing I'm going to say is actually these two and these two cards came out in reverse. So I'm kind of reading them that way, but I have them the right way up just because sometimes I like to see them that way. But it kind of makes sense. So the energy I see you in, the Exorcist card here talks about freeing yourself and others of destructive impulses. And then I love what came through as two cards that clarified what those destructive impulses were. And they were obsessive passions that harm others and self-destructive devotions in love. And manipulations or abusing students, teaching negative traits and destructive skills. So this tells me that you're in a energy right now where I would imagine that this is something that has happened to you for you to be able to see it, identify it, and experience it. It is interesting though, because when I look at the energy over here, it talks a little bit more around, instead of like, okay, actually, hang on. I feel like I might be getting more clarity here. I feel like you might currently be in an energy where you are clearing out your life from this type of manipulative energy. That's what I'm going to say here. This kind of feels like people who pretend to know more than they do, pretend to be like in a place of greater wisdom. This kind of makes me even think of people in the spiritual community, how sometimes they can use words that feel disempowering. So they can sometimes allude to knowing more than you do about your own past, or they can allude to knowing the right decisions for you, or how what should be the right thing for you. And in my personal opinion, I don't ever think that's healthy. I always feel like you as an individual know best. You don't think that spiritual people know any better than you do, because everyone has their own bias filter, and sometimes I feel like that's the ego that says they know what's best for you, because there's no right or wrong, good or bad. There's just what you choose to experience. And if you choose to have a life that is different than what they're prophesizing, like, that is your choice and that is your experience you get to have, and they don't really have any right to tell you what you can and can't do or what is best for you. So I don't know, I don't like that. But you feel like you're currently in an energy of getting yourself out from those kind of dynamics and relationships. It could quite literally be a spiritual mentor or teacher, maybe someone you have had card readings from, Reiki from, someone who's maybe teaching you channeling. It could be any of those modalities, or I could also see this specifically being around love life. You could be in a relationship with someone who has not treated you in the most kind way and has manipulated some very kind and innocent things about you so that you do not see the truth of the situation. So yeah, but what I see here too is like when this card comes in, it talks about you believing in the best in people, you having a really kind heart, and having so much love and for people that sometimes it can be used against you. So it doesn't mean that that is a bad energy to love, but it talks about almost living without knowing where to set boundaries and standards for yourself so that people don't take advantage of it. So it's not that you're doing anything wrong, but it's essentially getting yourself freed from these unkind, very manipulative types of relationships. So that could be quite a tough phase that you're in right now, because usually there's a lot of confusion that comes up, a lot of sense of disempowerment, but once again, confusion, because it's like, what is true, what isn't true. And it can just be a really, really tough energy to be in. So when I see over here in your future energy, we have Alchemist, which talks about basically it talks about coming from an experience that is challenging or coming from anything that's challenging and being able to transmute it into something that is of service to you, that's something of value to you. So something that is just kind of like, whoa, I don't know what to do with this at the moment, eventually becomes something of great value. And through a change, from changing how you see it, changing how it helps you see the world, and just making you feel more like the Alchemist card talks about feeling more grounded in yourself. So talks about building up that strength and that safety in yourself. And then the Knight card says, I love this because, so I was saying these came up upside down. So it says allegiance to destructive ruler principle, romantic delusions. So I feel like it, like this situation that you might be finding yourself in now, it teaches you how others may misuse power or knowledge through a spiritual practice, is what it says here, or through your belief systems. So that could be religious belief systems or just spiritual belief systems, and just things you trust in, and manipulating it to create more authority or more power over others. And I believe this is something that you would have experienced. So it does talk about you really seeing how someone may have been able to, I want to say like pull the rug from underneath you, or like make it easy for you to get confused around what was truth and what wasn't. And I really do feel like this is like using belief system against you. So it says just really starting to see like where you were misguided, or even in like delusions stands out here, like how they might have created delusions of themselves, like fake it's like hard for me to explain this concept for some reason right now. And I wonder if like sometimes I feel like your energy is a little bit tired. I feel like my brain feels a little bit dead, like just in the sense of like overthinking too much. And I wonder if this is something where you've just thought a lot about the situation, and all like the things that happened, and like what was the truth and what was the lie that was told and what was the life that was believed. And this just talks about you kind of being able to see that without having to think it through. You just like feel that knowing of like, in that situation, like that's what was happening, and it's just like clarity there. So this feels like quite a bit of relief, because this is like confusion, raw emotion processing, and over here it's like feeling more grounded and supported, more clear, having a clearer vision and understanding about how all this went down. And I really love that it says like really starting to see how you were manipulated by these people or person, and it helps you gain clarity on how that will not happen to you in the future, because you have identified the tactics and those signs and symbols of those people. So it's a hard time, but new perspective and new ground and new safety within self is what comes through strongly, and a clear sight of who you are and how situations were. So it feels like if you're in the thick of it now, this feels like it's just coming to say you will get that clarity. It will make sense to you, and you will see how these things unfolded and have some compassion for how it all happened, and knowing that you just couldn't have really known. If you had so much trust in these people, you couldn't have known. Okay, so over here it talks about donating, tithing, and charitable work. So this card talks about essentially letting yourself do things that make you feel good, feel of value in the world, feel like you're contributing to the world. And this isn't because you need to do that. This feels like this brings you up. So when you share things or you do things for others, I feel like you feel good. And it's just reminding you that you are a great, loving person, and that you deserve to feel good. You have value. You are so loved, and just moving towards those things that remind you of the things you love about life. Helping, and I feel like it's like through connecting with other people. Severing vows of poverty. So what I love about this talks about severing vows around this having to be a pattern. Like I feel like this is probably something you've experienced before in different degrees. And when I see sever vows of poverty, this is like a money deck that I'm using. I feel like this is truly talking about severing like this unhealthy pattern. Like it's like you really start to get this clarity, and you really, I feel like through this, like once again, I want to say, if you've been in this before, I feel like you heal from this one. You come out more as a radiant person, as more of yourself. And I feel like you just start to realize like this whole situation made you so small, and you deserve to be seen and bigger and to take up space and to be just all of yourself in the world. Yeah. This one, the card says there's no need to suffer or sacrifice. Hold the intention of doing any vows or criticisms or self-denial that you may have made consciously or unconsciously in any lifetime. As you do so, all effects of these vows will be undone for everyone involved in all directions of time. So it talks about truly letting yourself set free. And I feel like what comes through with that card is knowing that this does not have to always be your story, your love story, or your story of friendship or in the world. Like it's going in your direction now. Things are going to be working out, because attracting, not chasing. So this also talks about, I feel like there's going to be some clarity here in how perhaps in your like really deep desire to have a certain, maybe it's like soul family or soulmate in your life, that it could have been that sometimes helps you like make this person seem sweeter than they were, or you gave a lot of lenience to them because you were like so excited to have found your person. And I feel like there was lots of words probably used in this context about like this being your person, this being the thing for you. So it does talk about getting clarity around that and seeing where you might have given more, I want to say like given them a lot of extra space they didn't really deserve, but you didn't really know you were giving it to them at the time. So I do feel like there's so much around starting to see how others deserve to put in the same amount of effort as you. And that, once again, reciprocals come out in all these pick a card piles today, but once again, recognizing what reciprocity looks like in relationship, so that you don't have to be the one always waiting for the person to come into your life. You're there waiting, and then they choose to step forward too. So you're both always leaning into each other. You're always making steps closer to each other. You're not constantly being the person waiting for them to have time for you or acknowledge you or things like that. So I do feel like you were someone who probably had to put in a lot of effort to get any attention or reciprocity in this relationship. And I do feel like that is so hard, because I believe that probably would have worn down a lot on your confidence, because I feel like next card here, deservingness, talks a lot about that. Is like, I think this person, whoever they were to you, made you feel like perhaps you just weren't someone who was innately deserving of love, kindness, or any of those such things, because there's just such a need to chase for it or prove for it or earn it or try to do something for it. So I do just feel like it says you're going to start to see how deserving of love you are. Yeah. This all comes through with the crown chakra. So it talks about just like really starting to like just really see it. Like I feel like there'll be downloads, some clarity coming in around, wow, I see now what I could not see in this relationship before. I just couldn't understand it before. And then lastly here we have obstacles and blocks lifted and words of abundance. So this talks about you have the ability to instantly manifest abundance by choosing powerful, positive words. Always describe your own and the world's economic situation in loving and optimistic terms. That is and that is what you attract for yourself and others. But I feel like this is talking about in relationships. So words of abundance in relationships, because I feel like this even is like saying, if you start to see what you deserve and you start to make a list of like, how do I want to feel in a relationship? Like it's reciprocal. Like each person also is equally stepping in towards the other, and one isn't always trying to beg, ask, give a lot of leniency to the other person's behavior. They just both, like someone who is actually mirroring the energy you put in. That's actually probably a better way to put it to you. Someone who actually loves the way you love and puts in the same amount of energy, care, and concern that you do. That's the kind of love you want. And I feel like it's saying, through this whole experience, as hard as it might be to believe, you do know how to see that now in the world. And I feel like before, you might not have known how to see it, because I'm not sure if you ever thought someone could love you in the way that you love others, but I feel like you're going to find out. You're going to find out. This so far here is just talking about being on the healing journey to get to the place where you can see that you deserve to be loved in that way. But I do just see it. I feel like this is going to be the next, I want to say month. almost like 2 to 4 weeks, you start to feel like really get more of that feeling more stable in yourself, and so much clarity around the other person's tactics, just like what they actually were doing. I just feel like it just makes sense to you. You don't try to figure out with the mind, it just makes sense. And you start to see all these sort of things like, wow, like you were putting in so much more effort than them, but all their words might have made you feel like the opposite. Just realizing that they might have made you feel like you didn't really deserve them and you were like lucky to have them. Or over here, like same with the vows of poverty, like they were just better than what you've had, or they told you that they were better than anything you've had. Like it's just talking about how you're really get like this deep clarity, and then just remembering to do small things that make you feel really good in your day-to-day. So if it is like connecting with others in certain ways, being of service to others, if you have a job you really love, and not saying leaning into that to the point where you're not doing any emotional work, but it's like just letting yourself have moments of feeling good in the day-to-day, not always having to be stuck in this energy. Okay. I'm so sorry you're going through this, pile threes. This is a really tricky energy, really tricky experience to be in, and I can see there's just so much healing going on for you. Like I feel like there's so much heart and just being like, whoa, what happened? So much healing. And then feeling so ungrounded and uncertain about all of it, and having a hard time seeing, understanding, having like, I feel like any sort of spoken clarity. I think that was probably lacking. Like I don't think this person probably took any accountability for their actions. Imagine you probably somehow got clarity around their behavior, whether it was through someone telling you, showing you evidence, or accidentally finding out evidence. But I feel like that's where a lot of confusion's coming from, is I feel like this person still didn't take accountability. So there was so much confusion around everything. So I apologize for that. And I know that doesn't really change anything, but I'm wishing you the best, and I just really hope you are feeling supported and you're reaching out to the people you need to during this time, and you're just doing your best to not hold it all in to yourself. You know, you let other people who are kind, caring, and supportive help hold you up in this time. So yeah, my thoughts are with you, and I'm just wishing you the best, and maybe I'll catch you around sometime in another pick a card reading.